Hello everyone, it is Briximus Prime. I'm back for another video, and today we're going to be reviewing the Transformers Studio Series first ever core class figures. The Bumblebee movie characters, Ravage and Shockwave. Let's just get right on into the review by starting with the packaging on these beloved figures from the most beloved Transformers movie in a long time. Pretty standard Studio Series style packaging. It's got the Decepticon logo, says Shockwave and Ravage, Bumblebee movie, Hasbro, Transformers, Bumblebee movie. Image of Shockwave says Core Class. Right here, image of Shockwave. Authentic Transformers! Here on the back of the box, obligatory product shots right back there. And also here at the front, they've got some nice artwork right there as well, and nothing much else to really talk about. So that is really it for the packaging. Just briefly going over the accessories, Shockwave comes with his standard gun arm, cast in that nice purple plastic with some nice silver highlights painted in there. So very nice, very simplistic, and obviously this just plugs in on his hand, pretty, straightforward. And Ravage might be a smaller core class than Shockwave, but they did try to give him the most accessories as possible, which is appreciated. Hasbro gave him this little missile pod, sonar sensor, not quite sure what this is, but it's a little accessory. He also came with his hip missiles, hip guns, whatever you want to call them. These are the guns that go on Ravage's hips. And then he came with an accessory that you can store on Ravage, but this is specifically made for the Studio Series Soundwave. We'll get to that in a minute. Getting all of them onto Ravage. This little piece can just go on Ravage's belly, so you can carry it under him like that. This little sonar sensor thing can just kind of plug in on his back like so. And then the hip things, like I said, there's little ports on his hips, and you can just plug them in right there. So that is basically it for the accessories, and we'll get to this in a second. But just getting into some of these up-close details here. Shockwave's head sculpt came out looking, let me zoom in, there we go. His head sculpt came out looking really good. I like that yellow eye, the gunmetal gray. The shade of purple they used is perfect. It doesn't look too bright, but also not too dark. I like this little subtle highlight of like velvety red in there with some nice silver. Very beautiful mechanical detailing going all throughout the figure. Some nice treads, the feet, the gun, the hands, and very clean back. Very, very nicely done. Going over the posability, Shockwave has a head swivel. The shoulders can rotate a full 360. They can move in and out. He's got a elbow swivel and a bicep swivel. They can bend at the elbow, which bends at below 90 degrees. No waist swivel. Hips move outward that far. He has this weird bend at the thigh, but no thigh swivel. Bend at the knee, which is under 90. Kind of disappointing. And then the ankles hinge up and down. So kind of limited articulation on this guy, but still appreciated that he's not too static. Would have been nice if we got a waist swivel or some thigh swivel, but other than that, this guy's actually pretty good. I just still really want to get a Voyager-sized Shockwave, please. And now just briefly going over Ravage here. Here is some of the mechanical detail going into Ravage. I have to admit, with this guy being so small, this guy does pack in all the necessary details for the Studio Series. You got the bright yellow eyes, the red, the silver. Sorry. Got some nice molded detail right there for the spine. The nice Decepticon logo right there. Red and white. Very nice. Again, loads of mechanical detail for such a small figure. And yeah, pretty good posability as well. I really like how this guy came out. Going over Ravage's articulation, he's got a hinge joint at the base of the head. His jaw can open and close. Ball joint at this shoulder here, which can rotate forward and back, can move outward that little bit, bend at the elbow or knee, whatever. Ankle can hinge up and down. This leg can move back and forward, can move in and out. Bend here, bend right there, and a bend at the foot. And then finally his tail can move and these guns can move around. So pretty good articulation on this guy. He's also got this weird back flip, like this hip joint thingy, but that's more for transformation. Pretty nice articulation also on such a small figure for Ravage. He's quite small. Which, speaking of, getting into size comparisons. Just briefly going over this really fast, here is the core class Ravage and Shockwave compared to the other not Studio Series, but other core class figures that I own. And here they are compared to the Bumblebee movie sound waves. Anyway, let's get right on into Ravage's implications to Soundwave and the transformations. And now just briefly going over the transformation. And now just taking a brief look at Shockwave first. Shockwave here is in his Cybertronian tank mode. Kind of reminds me of the Transformers Prime Cybertronian tank. And yeah, I guess the only other bit of kibble is the head, I guess. I guess that kind of stands out, but it's not that big a deal. The tank doesn't have any rolling treads or anything, but you can just slide it around if you want to. And then posability, the turret can hinge up and down, and it can rotate on that head swivel. So very nice little tank right here. And then here we have Ravage in his box mode, or his, cassette mode. And yeah, nothing much else to say, just showing you off where the storage goes. That little missile pod thing goes down here, and then those hip missile things go right here in this exact orientation. Yes, the ones on the hips and here are two separate ports, just FYI. And then obviously this has no place to go. We'll get to that actually right now. Pretty self-explanatory where this goes, just plugs in on the end of that, and it's just made to look like the original G1 toy, that little extension thing that would go on it. Just push that. Now, this guy is a kind of tough to get in. You have to orient him in a very specific way in order to get him in there, or else this back panel pops open and it gets really irritating. And sometimes the toes here get caught inside as well. Like, you have to have it just like this as I'm putting him in. That way you close it up, and then as you can see, the back panel starts to pop open, and then if you try to push it back in, it's just going to keep popping out again. So you really got to just orient this guy the best way possible, but in my opinion, just leave him like this, because then his toes aren't getting caught on anything and they aren't breaking off. That's how I would prefer to have Soundwave, but overall, it's not bad. And also, if you're having a hard time getting Ravage out of there, just simply open this up and push him out, and there you go. For some quick comparisons, here is Shockwave and Ravage compared to the other core class figures that I have. And here they are compared next to Soundwave. And I am not transforming this guy again because, honestly, I'm too lazy to transform him back into robot mode, and that vehicle mode is just not worth it. So anyway, and that is basically it for my review on the core class Studio Series Ravage and Shockwave. Honestly, a pretty nice set of core class figures, but honestly, I don't know. The Shockwave, I still really want a Voyager class Shockwave. Please, Hasbro. But honestly, if you were to only get one Studio Series core class, I would say Shockwave, because he's more hefty than Ravage, and he's kind of makes the $10 price point a little more worth it. It's Ravage, just for that reason. Like, he really is just an expansion pack for Soundwave. I mean, he comes with the piece for Soundwave, and he's able to transform into a mode that goes in Soundwave. Like, there's literally no other implication or reason to have Ravage unless you're on a tight budget, or, like, there's no reason to have Ravage unless you're, like, some big diehard Ravage fan. But anyways, just in terms of money and price, I would highly suggest Shockwave, and giving them individual ratings, I give Shockwave a solid 6 out of 10. Could have used just a little bit more posability. Maybe a 7 out of 10 if I'm being generous. Ravage, I'm going to give him a solid 7 out of 10. Because even though he is just an expansion pack for Soundwave, he does do it very well. Anyway, that's basically it for my review on these guys. If you guys enjoyed it, be sure to give me a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment, whatever else, YouTube stuff, and I'll talk to you guys next time.